Long ago, in the vast and shimmering expanse of the Sapphire Sea, there existed a hidden realm beneath the waves, a kingdom carved from coral and adorned with pearls that glimmered like stars. This was the home of the merfolk, an ancient race known far and wide for their extraordinary gift, their voices. Their songs were no ordinary melodies. They wove magic into the tides themselves, capable of calming storms, healing wounds, and summoning schools of fish with a single note. Sailors spoke of hearing these hauntingly beautiful harmonies on moonlit nights, believing them to be the whispers of the sea itself. At the heart of this musical tradition stood Marina, the youngest daughter of Queen Nerissa, ruler of the Sapphire Kingdom. Marina's voice was unlike any other, clear as crystal, rich as the deepest ocean trench, and imbued with a power that seemed almost divine. When she sang, the very water around her vibrated with life. Her ballads could mend broken coral reefs, guide lost dolphins back to their pods, and even coax timid sea creatures out of hiding. The kingdom thrived under her influence, its waters teeming with life and harmony. Yet despite her talent, Marina was humble. She loved nothing more than sitting by the edge of the reef at sunset, letting her voice drift lazily over the waves, mingling with the sounds of the ocean. It wasn't about perfection or performance, was simply her way of connecting with the world around her. And so, the entire kingdom followed suit. The merfolk sang not just for ceremonies or celebrations, but because it brought them joy, unity, and peace. But one fateful day, something strange began to happen. It started subtly, almost imperceptibly. A few notes would falter during a morning chorus. A soloist might forget a verse mid-song. At first, the merfolk dismissed these lapses as fatigue or distraction, but soon, the problem grew impossible to ignore. One by one, the merfolk found themselves unable to sing at all. Even Marina, whose voice had once been the soul of the sea, discovered that her throat felt dry, her melodies hollow. No matter how hard she tried, the magic that once flowed effortlessly now eluded her grasp. The silence that descended upon the Sapphire Kingdom was deafening. Without their songs, the balance of the ocean began to unravel. Storms brewed without warning, battering the coastline with ferocious winds. Tides turned erratic, flooding some areas while leaving others parched. Fish fled the reefs, and vibrant ecosystems withered overnight. The once thriving kingdom became a shadow of its former self, its people listless and afraid. Queen Nerissa called an urgent council with the elders, desperate to find answers. They debated endlessly, blaming everything from curses to pollution to the wrath of the gods. Yet none of their theories explained why the merfolk's voices had vanished, not just physically, but spiritually. It was as if the music had been erased not only from their lips, but also from their hearts. Determined to save her people, Marina volunteered to embark on a perilous journey beyond the borders of the Sapphire Kingdom. She armed herself with little more than her courage and a small satchel of enchanted seashells gifted by her mother. With a heavy heart, she bid farewell to her family and set off into the unknown depths. Her first stop was the kelp forests of Luminae, a dense jungle of towering seaweed where bioluminescent plankton lit up the darkness like tiny lanterns. There, she encountered Solen, an ancient sea turtle whose shell bore intricate patterns resembling constellations. Solen had lived for centuries, and was said to possess wisdom older than the tides themselves. "Ah, young Marina," Solen greeted her with a slow blink of his wise eyes. "I've been expecting you. Your people have forgotten how to sing because they have forgotten what it means to truly listen." Marina frowned, confused. "Listen? We've always listened to the rhythm of the waves, to the calls of the dolphins, to each other." Solen shook his massive head. "Listening is more than hearing sounds. It is understanding, connecting, feeling the heartbeat of the world around you. Your songs have grown hollow because your hearts have grown distant. Tell me, when was the last time you sang not for show, but simply because it made your soul dance?" Marina hesitated, her tail flicking nervously against the sandy seabed. She realized that over time, singing had become a duty rather than a joy. The merfolk performed for festivals, ceremonies, and visitors, but rarely did they sing just for themselves. They had stopped listening to the ocean and to each other. Guided by Solen's words, Marina continued her quest, venturing deeper into uncharted waters. Her journey took her to the Whispering Caves, a labyrinthine network of caverns whose walls hummed faintly with echoes of forgotten ballads. As she explored, she pressed her ear to the cool stone and heard fragments of ancient melodious songs of love, loss, hope, and resilience. Each note resonated within her chest, awakening memories of simpler times when music had been a source of pure connection. Next, she sought out the Luminae, ethereal jellyfish whose translucent bodies pulsed with soft golden light. They drifted gracefully through the water, creating ripples of illumination that danced across the ocean floor. The Luminae taught Marina to listen not only with her ears, but with her eyes and skin, showing her how every movement, every flicker of light carried a story. Under their guidance, Marina learned to perceive the symphony of the sea's gentle sway of kelp, the rhythmic beat of a manta ray's wings, the electric crackle of plankton glowing in the dark. Her final destination was the abyssal plains, a desolate stretch of seabed shrouded in eternal night. Here, she met the Great Leviathan, a colossal creature older than the oceans themselves. Its body was covered in barnacles and scars, yet its gaze radiated kindness. The Leviathan shared tales of a time before division, when all living beings, merfolk, humans, animals, plant shad, existed in harmony. It reminded Marina that true song arises not from individual voices, but from the collective spirit of the world. With each encounter, Marina felt her connection to the sea deepen. She began to hear things she had never noticed before. The whisper of sand shifting along the current, the sigh of bubbles rising toward the surface, the quiet murmur of algae swaying in the undertow. These subtle sounds filled her with a sense of wonder, reigniting the spark of creativity within her. Fragments of melody returned to her, tentative at first, then swelling into full-bodied harmonies. For the first time in months, she sang not for anyone else, but for herself. And as she did, the water around her shimmered with renewed vitality. When Marina finally returned to the Sapphire Kingdom, she found her people gathered anxiously in the grand coral amphitheater. Their faces were etched with worry, their tails listless against the sand. Without hesitation, Marina addressed them not with words, but with silence. She invited everyone to close their eyes and listen to the lapping of the waves, the creak of barnacles clinging to rocks, the distant laughter of seagulls wheeling above the surface. At first, the silence felt awkward, uncomfortable, but gradually, the merfolk began to notice the subtle symphony surrounding them. Someone tentatively hummed a low note, mimicking the drone of the tide. Another joined in, echoing the chirp of a passing dolphin. Soon, the entire assembly erupted into song, not the polished, rehearsed performances of old, but raw, heartfelt expressions of emotion. Voices cracked, pitches wavered, but the passion behind them was undeniable. As their voices rose together, the ocean responded instantly. Colors flooded back into the reefs, fish returned in glittering shoals, and sunlight pierced the waves in dazzling beams. The Sapphire Kingdom came alive once more, reborn through the power of authentic connection. From that day forward, the merfolk never forgot the lesson Marina had brought back. They sang not to impress, but to connect with the sea, with each other, and with the world beyond. Though Marina eventually grew old and her voice faded, her legacy endured. For the Sapphire Kingdom became known not just for its music, but for the depth of its listening. And so, when mermaids forgot how to sing, they remembered what it meant to truly hear.